Namaste. Welcome you all for today's session. Today we'll be continuing with the principles of pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, part B. So, in the previous session, that is in the principles of pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, part A, we had dealt with what is pharmacology, what is pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics in brief, and then we were dealing with pharmacokinetics, its definition, attributes, and we had dealt in the membrane transport, passive diffusion, role of pH, filtration, specialized transport, and under that carrier transport, and endocytosis, which includes both pinocytosis and phagocytosis. The consumption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. So moving on to the concept of absorption. Absorption is the movement of the drug from its site of administration into the circulation. So not only the fraction of the administered dose that gets absorbed, but also the rate of absorption is important. Except when given IV, the drug has to cross biological membranes. So absorption is governed by that. So other factors which are affecting absorption are aqueous solubility, concentration, area of absorbing surface, the route of administration, vascularity of absorbing surface, and then bioavailability, etc. So absorption is the movement of drug from its site of administration into circulation, from where it can have easy access to the site of action. And what is bioavailability? Bioavailability refers to the rate and extent of absorption of a drug from a dosage form as determined by its concentration time curve in blood or by its excretion in urine. So it's a measure of the fraction F of administered dose of drug that reaches the systemic circulation in the unchanged form. So for example, bioavailability of a drug injected IV is 100%, but is frequently lower after the oral injection because the drug may be incompletely absorbed, or the absorbed drug may undergo first pass metabolism in the intestinal wall or liver to be excreted in the bile. Moving on to factors affecting drug absorption and bioavailability. So some of the factors which absorbs, which is concerned about drug absorption and bioavailability are physical properties of the drug. It depends on its physical state whether it is lipid soluble and unionized forms. For example, lipid soluble and unionized forms penetrates deep into the cells rapidly, hence absorption will be more. And it also depends on the dosage form, particularly its particle size. So lesser the particle size, more will be the absorption, and increased rate of absorption and bioavailability of the drug is also dependent on the particle size. Then another aspect is disintegration time. So it's a time taken for the tablet or capsule or a solid dosage form to break into small particles. And dissolution time, that is the time taken by the drug to go into its solution form. It is also dependent on the pH of the gastrointestinal fluid, which we had discussed earlier in part A, and also depends on the presence of food. For example, calcium or milk complexes, it forms a complex with tetracycline and further decreases the bioavailability. Then depends on the area of absorbing surface. That is, larger the surface area, example, large surface area of absorption in case of small intestine enhances absorption, and it also depends on local circulation, that is vascularity of the absorbing surface. So blood circulation removes the drug from the site of absorption and maintains the concentration gradient across the absorbing surface. So increased blood flow hastens drug absorption, just like how wind hastens drying of the clothes. It depends on route of administration also. For example, bioavailability of IV route is 100%, whereas bioavailability for oral route is always less than 100%. So moving on to oral route and absorption. The effective barrier to orally administered drug is the epithelial lining of the gastrointestinal tract, which is lipodal. Ionized lipid-soluble drugs are readily absorbed from stomach as well as intestine at rates proportional to their lipid-water partition coefficient. Drugs are predominantly unionized in the acid gastric juice and are absorbed from stomach, while basic drugs are largely ionized and are absorbed only on reaching the duodenum. However, even for acidic drugs, absorption from stomach is lower because the mucosa is thick and it is covered with mucus and the surface area is really small. Absorbing surface area is much larger in small intestine due to villi. Thus, faster gastric emptying accelerates drug absorption in general. And as dissolution is a surface phenomena, therefore particle size of the drug in solid dosage form governs the rate of dissolution and in turn rate of absorption also. And as mentioned earlier, acidic drugs are absorbed in stomach, basic drugs are absorbed in duodenum, and some drugs degraded in the GIT, example is penicillin and insulin, etc. Then the role of food, that is presence of food, dilutes the drug and retards absorption. Further, certain drug forms poorly absorb complexes with food constituents. Example, tetracycline. And moreover, food delays gastric emptying. Thus, most drugs are absorbed better if taken in empty stomach. However, there are some exceptions. Example, fatty food greatly enhances lumefantrine absorption. Highly ionized drugs, example gentamicin, etc., are poorly absorbed when given orally. Certain drugs are degraded in the gastrointestinal tract, example penicillin G by acid, insulin by peptidases, and are ineffective orally. So enteric coated tablets, that is having acid resistant coating, and sustained release preparations, that is drug particles coated with slowly dissolving material, can be used to overcome acid liability and gastric irritancy and brief duration of action. The oral absorption of certain drug is low because a fraction of the absorbed drug is extruded back into the intestinal lumen by the efflux transporter PGP located in the gut epithelium. The low oral bioavailability of digoxin and cyclosporin is partly accounted by this mechanism. And absorption of drug can be affected by other concurrently ingested drugs also, and this may be a luminal effect. For example, formation of insoluble complexes. One such example is that of tetracyclines and iron preparation with calcium salts and antacids, phenytoin with sucralfate, and such interaction can be minimized by administering the two drugs at a time interval of 2 to 3 hours. And alteration of gut flora by disrupt the enterohepatic cycling of oral contraceptives and digoxin. Drugs can also alter gut wall effects, that is altering the motility or causing mucosal damage. Then moving on to subcutaneous and intramuscular route. Here, drug gets deposited directly into the vicinity of the capillaries in case of these type of administration. So lipid soluble drugs readily absorbs in the capillaries, and lipid insoluble drugs are absorbed through the paracellular spaces. So very large molecules are absorbed through the lymphatics and absorption muscular site, and absorption is also accelerated by the application of heat. So moving on to the concept of distribution. Once a drug has gained access to the bloodstream, it gets distributed to other tissues that initially had no drug concentration gradient being in the direction of plasma to tissues. So it's a process of drug getting distributed to other tissues once it gets access to blood. It means the pattern of scattering of the specified amount of the drug among the various locations in the body, and the movement of drug proceeds until an equilibrium is established. So factors governing drug distribution. Extent and pattern of distribution of a drug is dependent on its lipid solubility, ionization at a physiological pH, extent of binding to plasma and tissue proteins, and presence of tissue specific transporters, and difference in regional blood flow. Before that, movement of the drug proceeds until an equilibrium is established between unbound drug in the plasma and tissue fluids. Subsequently, there is a parallel decline in both due to elimination also. So, apparent volume of distribution V is calculated presuming that the body behaves as a single homogeneous compartment with volume V into which the drug gets immediately and uniformly distributed. Hence, V is calculated by dose administered IV by plasma concentration. So, a large value of V indicates a larger quantity of drug is present in extravascular tissue, and drugs sequestrated in other tissues may have V much more than total body water or even body mass. Moving on to the concept of redistribution. Highly lipid soluble drugs get initially distributed to the organs with high blood flow, etc. Later, less vascular but more bulky tissues, example muscle, fat, take up the drug, plasma concentration falls, and the drug is withdrawn from the highly perfused site. If the site of action of the drug was in one of the highly perfused or redistribution results in the termination of drug action. So, solubility of the drug faster is its redistribution. However, when the same drug is given repeatedly or continuously over long, high capacity sites gets progressively filled up and the drug becomes longer lasting. So, this is a picture depicting two compartment models. Moving on to plasma protein binding. Most drugs possess chemical affinity for plasma proteins and gets reversibly bound to these. Acidic drugs generally bind to plasma albumin and basic drugs to alpha-1 acid glycoprotein. So binding to albumin is quantitatively more important and the extent of binding depends on the individual compound. So no generalization for a pharmacological or chemical class can be made. Even for small chemical change can markedly alter protein binding. So increasing concentration of the drug can progressively saturate the binding sites. Fractional binding may be lower when large amount of the drug are given. The generally expressed percentage binding refers to the usual therapeutic plasma concentration of a drug. The clinically significant implications of plasma binding are highly plasma protein bound drugs are largely restricted to vascular compartment. Protein bound drugs does not cross the membranes except through large paracellular spaces such as in capillaries, and they tend to have a smaller volume of distribution. The bound fraction is not available for action, however, it is in equilibrium with free and dissociates when the concentration of the latter is reduced due to elimination. Plasma protein binding thus tantamounts to temporary storage of the drug. And high degree of protein binding generally makes the drug long lasting because bound fractions is not available for unless it is actively extracted by liver or by kidney tubules. Glomerular filtration does not reduce the concentration of free form in the efferent vessels because water is also filtered. Glomerular secretion, however, removes the drug without the attendant solvent, and concentration of bond drug dissociate and is eliminated, resulting in a higher renal clearance value of the drug than the total renal blood flow. The same is true of active transport of highly extracted drugs in liver. Plasma protein binding in the system and hastens drug elimination. Highly protein bound drugs are not removed by hemodialysis and need special techniques for treatment of poisoning. And another thing is that the generally expressed plasma concentration of the drug refers to bound as well as free drug. The degree of protein binding should be taken into account while relating these to concentration of the drug that are active in vitro. And once the drug can bind to many sites on the albumin molecule, conversely, more than one drug can bind to the same site also. So this can give rise to the displacement reaction among drugs bound to the same site. A bond with higher affinity will displace that bond with lower affinity. So if just 1% of a drug, that is 99% bond, is displaced, the concentration of free form will be doubled. So this, however, is often transient because the displaced drug will diffuse into the tissues as well as get metabolized or excreted. The concentration is only marginally higher unless the displacement extends to tissue binding or there is concurrent inhibition of metabolism or excretion. The overall impact of many displaced interactions is minimal, and a clinical significance being attained only in case of highly bound drugs with limited volume of distribution, where interaction is more complex. Moreover, two highly bound drugs do not necessarily displace each other. Binding sites may not overlap. Similarly, acidic drugs do not generally displace basic drugs and vice versa. Some clinically important displacement interactions are such as aspirin displaces sulfonylureas and indomethacin, and phenytoin displaces warfarin, aspirin methotrexate, etc. And another thing is that pathological states like hypoalbuminemia, binding is reduced and high concentration of free drug is attained. Then moving on to the concept of drug metabolism. So drug metabolism. Absorption and distribution determines the speed of onset of action of a drug, and the termination of action of a drug depends on biotransformation, excretion and tissue redistribution. So the net result of these processes contributes to the duration of drug action. So biotransformation or metabolism means a chemical alteration of the drug in the body. It is needed to render lipid soluble non-polar compounds into polar lipid insoluble so that they are not reabsorbed in the renal tubules and are excreted. Mechanisms which metabolize drugs have developed to protect the body from ingested toxins also. So the primary sites of drug metabolism it includes liver, which is considered as the primary site, kidneys, intestines, lungs, plasma, adrenal cortex, placenta, and skin. So biotransformation of drug leads to the following, that is inactivation. So most drugs and their active metabolites are rendered inactive or less active. And the another one is it turns active metabolite from an active drug. So many drugs have been found to be partially converted to one or more active metabolite. The effects observed are the sum total of that due to the parent drug and its active metabolites. Next one is active metabolite from an active drug. And the activation of an inactive drug also takes place. That is, few drugs are inactive as such and need conversion in the body to one or more active metabolites. So such a drug is called as prodrug. The prodrug may offer advantages over the active form in being more stable and having better bioavailability or other desirable pharmacokinetic properties or less side effects and toxicity. So selectively at the site of action. So some of the examples of an active metabolite from an active drug is as mentioned in the table, that is active drug diazepam and active metabolite is oxazepam, codeine, morphine, digitoxin, digoxin, etc. And the examples of activation of an inactive drug is like examples of prodrug and active form is levodopa from dopamine and other drugs which has been enlisted. So biotransformation reactions.